Welcome back to another battle report. Again, this time it's some Canadians versus Soviets. Conflict 47, 750 points, and envelopment. Some of the rules we used, the experimental walkers and suppression rules, the buildings only provided light cover, and because of the point size, we only played on a 4x4 table. My forces. So generally everything's pretty normal for what I've been taking. On to the Canadians. This time it had my opponent decided to mix it up, added in the Ram Kangaroo here. So that's a little bit interesting. So the pregame layout. So as I said, these huts are treated as light cover. This is one deployment area. This is the other. So some good line of sight blocking. Again, just from another angle. Yep, as you can see, 4x4. And the start of the layout. So yeah, I ended up deciding to be the defender against British. Not the wisest. If you're not familiar, they get a special rule. Their preliminary bombardment. Um, they get to roll 2 dice and pick the highest. This was my sniper team. I decided to start with my Mark IIs and then my veterans at one of the veteran squads. So my idea was, Mark IIs would start here. They're slow. They'd be able to enter into the building and then be able to provide basically a cover, good covering fire. Sniper, he gets a good line of sight from here, and then the veterans just blocking the way through here. But yeah, so I did all that and then remembered, oh yeah, the British get extra deployment goodness. And as you can see here, bombardment goodness, and as you can see, he lucked out, or I lucked out, and he rolled a 1, so there was no bombardment. Otherwise, that would have been generally unpleasant. Brings us to top of turn 1. So he brings in this free artillery observer. Robot group 1 comes in. You can see from here, anti-tank rifle on one side. Got the veterans, and you're starting to see the lines fill out a little bit. I wanted to set up a good fire base here. He starts to bring his forces on. So they're kind of hidden here is the Tesla artillery piece, I believe. Brings us to 2. Yeah, there wasn't much going on in the first turn. We get in the building, and immediately I know they were going to start taking shots, but my thought being is, okay, they're in cover, they're resilient naturally, and they have the tough save. So if they're shooting at these guys, yeah, I won't be able to provide the fire through here, but they're not firing at my other stuff. So that was a thought there. Plan worked in the sense of now they're sucking up shots, just from a different angle. All the going on. So 10 boys are advancing. We do get some. We are returning some fire. LT sneaks on his side, but really not doing too much just yet. First turns are just kind of getting in place. Then kind of changes some things up. So his light walker shows up. So that kind of this force has some limited anti-tank abilities. So I was kind of keeping those guys in reserves to figure out what he's doing with his guys. Because between the little Stompy and the Kangaroo, that'll probably be pushing my anti-tank abilities. And to that note, the Kangaroo shows up. So now that all his armor's on the table, he still has some flexibility there. So I decided to bring in the veterans over on my left. The idea being is, okay, they have 2 Panzerfausts, cover the left. The other groups has 2 Panzerfausts, cover the right. These guys have anti-tank grenades, so while I don't want to, I can charge them out of here if the vehicle starts, tries to make a bolt through here on either side. So they can attempt to assault it and hopefully blow it up that way. And then the last resort, I do have bringing in some terrors, Siberian terrors. They also have some um, captured Panzerfaust. Things are complicated a little bit by uh, his artillery observer up here calling in the artillery strike. Yeah, so that kind of complicates things a little bit. You see more of the guys huddling up. They got in the building, and so his robots didn't back up. They AT rifle actually put in some work. Was able to fire off and kill the first group. Shot, hit one, killed. They panicked, went off the board. So this is the second group coming in. That brings us. This is the end of turn 2. Top of 3. So boom, goes off. Luckily, from a damage standpoint, not much happens. But yeah, they much like most of the artillery strikes, it's just a ton of pins are thrown out here. You can see on the right flank, they've been taking fire. Up to this point, they haven't been hurt too much, but that's about to change. Pop pop. So yeah, what I think he's starting to develop a plan coming down here to that may be one of his main pushes, or he's realized with them being resilient and everything, it's easier to kill these guys and maybe try to push that way than try to dig these guys out of the building. See the artillery jump, or the observer jumping from cover to cover. Yeah, so now he's starting to begin advance. He was a little more cautious in his advance. He does know I have the terrors off the board still, Siberian terrors, so I can, if he's a little too bold, as fast as they are, they can kind of swing wherever they need to be. Just kind of a little snapshot. So yeah, I'm still hiding one group here. They're out taking fire, and again, this LT, and they're just beginning to advance. Being envelopment, he realized. We knew it from the beginning, but now you kind of see the active advance. He's not doing a full just sprint to the finish line because he'd get gunned down, so he's smart in that. LT shows up. As mentioned earlier, had the terrors. Now with all the armor on the board, I put them in the middle here. The idea being is, okay, if both of these push one way or the other, or they push to his right, I can swing them out this way. If they push left, they can be the first to encounter, and then the second group, the veterans here, can come up, fill the gap, and hopefully they'll still be around. So with that, the walker breaks to the left, so that changes some things a little bit. So now we're getting to the who's gonna flinch first point. Yeah, so his kangaroo's here with his squad. So yeah, if he gets this off the board, it's a bunch of points. Brings us top of 4. So I ended up flinching first. So I run these guys out, fire off their 2 Panzerfaust. They miss. So he runs this guy up, doesn't engage. Because he ends up just burning them. I think his idea was to burn them, maybe panic them off, and then both of these, the observer and him, can run off. Luckily, the price of failure is getting burned with a flamethrower, but they stick it out. Automatons just keep these things, in the teams of 2. They're pretty good in the sense of very cheap. They do take up a slot, but the amount of fire they can throw out without really tipping your hand too much is pretty nasty. And finally, the armor decides to do its thing. So with the 2 Panzerfausts fired over here and a bunch of pins, he's really only got to worry about these guys at this point. And rightfully so. So they jump out, pop them with the 2 Panzerfausts. Just blow a giant hole in it. So that worked out well. My reinforcements arrive. So that's the inexperienced squad. So they're, hey, they're free. I can't complain. So board state. So yeah, that's popped. They're just getting beat down. Sniper's not doing much anything. Mark II's hanging out. I need to hurry up and build the light machine gun for them. I know the new models came out, but I built the squad, and I'll probably just stick with my conversions and just have a squad or two that way. Um, but yeah, they're kind of missing, I think, in the without the LMGs. They do a decent job, but that probably kicks them up to where they can actually throw out a good amount of shots. They're not dying, which is, they the resilience good, but not great. Since even these schmucks are regular or veterans are wounded on a 5, you're paying a bit of a premium just to go up to that 6. But I do like the resilient and the assault rifles. Brings us to 5. So yeah, we move these guys up, go to engage in a firefight, or we just fire into them. They choose firefight, and yeah, trade them 2 for the squad. So that worked out pretty well. The speaking of working out well, so yeah, they get cooked again and decide to stick around. LT and Buddy decided to lay into the artillery observer, so they gun him down. So that's nice. And speaking of gun down, so yeah, um, hindsight being 2020, these guys probably should have came in here, started advancing up. Not that it would have done any better than the veterans that are, as you can see, are now gone, but at least it would have gave me some more bodies here. Brings us 6. Oh, sorry. As you can see here, they rallied. So yeah, 6. So he's starting to. I forget what popped one of these guys, but either way, he's starting to trying to hide him behind cover. The Yeah, he runs off to freedom, and being a little cautious, I decide to hide the squad and pull out my Mark IIs, jump them out on this side, just to prevent them from dying, or because now they're at the point where they got enough pins and there's a few low enough numbers that I can start taking panic checks fairly easily, or morale checks, and have them run off the board. Yeah, so they're just hanging out, happy to be alive. They got hit with 2 flamethrowers and still sticking it out. LT's just happy to be alive. And we rolled for 7 and we got it. So this is where things get interesting. So yeah, then take a picture of it. So last turn, at the end of the turn, his die, he ran these guys out. And then on top of the first dice this time, he bolted, or I guess second at this point, bolted them over, trying to just get them to my deployment zone. They made it. Yeah, so I tried to bring them over to do something. Again, this is an inexperienced squad, so moved, inexperienced, in cover or block line of sight. We're treating this kind of an area terrain, and yeah, that brings us to the board state. As you can see by the fact that squad's here, the inexperienced squad, they hit them, but didn't do anything. And that brings us to the end of game, bottom of 7. Yeah, he decided not to run these guys out with the squad here. In the open, they may be actually able to do some things, damage. That brings us to bottom of 7, which means it was a draw. Yeah, so I ended up getting 8 points, killed 4 units. The automated infantry observer, and then the guys in the transports, he popped 2 of mine. And 2 of his units got off. So I think a little bit of. I was a bit cautious on some of my units late game. Go back here. So I should have jumped, if anything, if they're going to jump out, maybe I jumped them out to this side. The Mark IIs, so they would have been here, didn't been able to counter. And I was afraid of, for I don't know, whatever reason, I didn't want my terrors to get gunned down. So between the artillery, these guys, and the squad that ran over here, I was afraid they were going to get, just shot all up. Again, I don't think they would have killed him to a man. So being fanatic, if I just had 1 or 2 guys left, or just 2 guys left, I could have he wasn't going to get any points from him. So that was kind of silly. I should have put him, after killing this unit, maybe ran him here or back here or something again to act as a counter. Because at this point, there was nothing on this half of the board edge of his. The walker got off the board, so there's nothing I needed to worry about. So the fact I was running them over here, a fairly full squad, um, yeah, that was a bit silly. I also should have brought this squad up this way. Not, and I'm not just saying that because he snuck out, but from the standpoint of, we got building here, enemies are on this side at the time that they couldn't have done anything against the walker and stuff. So go ahead and put them here as a stopgap, or put them in the front. So as the veterans were taking fire, pull them back, put the inexperienced in the front to at least absorb some shots. So if something like this did happen, the veterans could have came around and actually tied into them. But anyway, those are some errors on my part. But all in all, it was a great game. Like in the playing against the Canadians, it is something a bit different than standard British. And being able to take the ram kangaroos and things, and I guess the ram priest. So we'll probably start seeing more of that. But all in all, a good game, and thanks for watching.